This is the Way Spiritual Dojo, the path of unconditional love. Our guest today is Kevin Crenshaw. He has been facilitating healing, embodiment, and activation spaces in person for over a decade. His own heartache and near-death experiences led him to extensive research and training in relationship dynamics, trauma, and human transformation. Kevin has coached tens of thousands of people to experience more inner peace, deeper intimacy, and to live a life from the heart. And with that being said, welcome in, Kevin.
I'm here. Huzzah.
If people are not watching this, you have to see there. Well, I'll paint you a picture because Kevin has an epic background, a beautiful like king's throne chair. There's like a galaxy picture on the top left. There's like a really cool like purple velvet background. So if that's not enough to hop on and watch the video, I don't know what is. Yeah,
Uh,
man.
True. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Me and just for a little background, like me and Kevin, we know each other personally. We're friends. I knew Kevin from just getting to know him through the retreat space he was facilitating. And through the retreat space, then I got connected with like a men's workout group, and he was a part of that too. And then, the rest is history from there. We just kept growing together.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, man, I'd love to just start off with where did you grow up?
Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis, Tennessee, man. What's it like over there? Like what's the I've never been to Tennessee. What's the weather like over there?
It's very similar to Austin, which
Okay.
is interesting. Like when people are like, Austin's so weird, I'm like, it's the same. I'm used to this.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of people, when they think Tennessee, oftentimes they think the mountains and they think bears and they think gorgeous views. And I'm from West Tennessee, which is the hood. So like we just want to set the record straight that it's a lot of like flat land and it's not the mountains. I didn't grow up in that,
Okay.
which is the east side of Tennessee. Um, but yeah, man, I grew up in Memphis till I was 21, I think. I left when I was 21 or 22.
Okay. Can you paint a picture of like when you say the hood, like what is that? What does that look like?
I mean, so part of the reason I left Memphis is because there's still a lot of racial tension. I mean,
Mm.
that might have shifted now, but there's like an old wise tale that's like Memphis got stuck in time when Martin Luther King Jr. got shot there. Like
Oh,
it's
oh.
just kind of like very odd. And I didn't know any different because that's what I grew up in. So, my grandma saying the N-word and like it was just kind of normal
Yeah.
until I left and realized there's a whole nother world. Um, I don't know. I guess in terms of the level of consciousness, and this is a very big generalization, right? And from my experience when I was a teenager, um, but and looking back, it's like people are just so zoomed in, and everything was about Memphis. It's kind of
Mm.
like, well, there's a world around here, like there's so much more going on in the world. But that's why I left, just because I looked around and I was like, everybody's living and dying here. Nobody's moving. Nobody's moving here. It's not a growing city. The only reason it still has an economy is because of the FedEx World headquarters is there, so
Okay.
it fuels a lot of the economy. And so I was just like, whoa, I'm out. And I got into personal development, and I traveled
Yeah.
for Tony Robbins events, and I was going to LA and all this stuff, and I was like, why am I here? And that's when I saw the like, oh wow, everybody just kind of stays with their family and dies here. I don't want to do that.
Bro, that's so fascinating to me when you said that about like time is just like frozen from like when Martin Luther King got shot. That's really fascinating to me. I like, yeah. Like,
Yeah. So when I say hood, it's just it's there's the nice part of town and there's the bad part of town, and the more dangerous side. And I grew up in the suburbs, but I also drove through the hood all the time, and it is what it is. And so I'm not. It's not necessarily a judgment, but that's just the truth of the city. And it's
totally.
great from perspective now, looking at, because I'm actually going this next week to Memphis to visit my mom again, but like it has changed a lot, and they have done a lot of improvements in on the
Yeah.
city as a whole. It's a lot more lively than what I remember as a teenager, at least.
Yeah. Well, like, t tell me a little bit of just because I love to paint a picture of your your life and your childhood a little bit. Um, tell us about just like well, whatever you want to share of like just as your childhood in the family dynamic, like just growing up as a kid.
Um, so my dad worked a lot. He was a CEO of a multi-million dollar rim and tire shop company. He franchised it out. It was a huge operation, huge thing. So he was never super present and definitely not emotionally present. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she was extremely present. And my mom was the cool mom that everybody wanted to go to my house because my mom would play Xbox with us, and she was like,
Oh, dope.
yeah. So
Dope,
she
and
was.
yeah, and I could imagine that's could be weird too.
No, it was great. She was awesome growing up. So yeah, I mean, as far as the dynamic goes, I'm an only child. I have a half sister, but she left the house when I was 2. I don't really know too much about what happened or why, but she just didn't come around anymore. Um,
Your
and
mom,
no, my half sister.
your half sister. Oh, sorry, I
Yeah,
missed.
she's 10-ish years older than me. So, but yeah, growing up, I was extremely heavily medicated for ADD, ADHD, sleep apnea, allergies. I had asthma. I was taking breathing treatments every night. Like it was pretty intense. And uh, I look back and I'm like, yeah, my emotional needs weren't met, and I was put in the school system when I'm a very artistic, outgoing person. So like the subconscious is like you're not safe, something's going on, so it's going to stimulate your nervous system, and I'm being told to sit down and shut up when I'm just a loud person. So there was, in comes the medicine and all these other things to disrupt it.
Mm.
And then I was eating like shit, Cheetos, Doritos. I don't think I ever drank water. Sprite was my liquid of choice. You I'm being serious, man. I look
Yeah.
like, how am I alive? My body. Oh shit. So my mom used to sneak green beans into my, or like peas, I'm sorry, into my macaroni noodles and my mac and cheese so I could have some green something.
No, that's good.
Like as a smaller kid, right? So I just that yeah, and then I was really outgoing and playful and fun with my friends, but with everybody else in school, I was extremely shy.
Yeah.
And when my medicine was active in my system, I was a zombie, man. And then when it wore off, it was like all of the time that I was medicated just exploded, and that was now condensed into the hours that I had not medicated, and I was just an energizer bunny, man, like ball.
Mm.
And so those extremes played a role in my system.
Yeah.
Into it later, but that developed into a lot of different things, caffeine addiction and other stuff that of extremism in my somatic experience of life. But that kind of
Yeah.
look back and I'm like, well, that started then.
Yeah, like something that popped up to me when you had said sit down and shut up that like in school. Was there ever a moment in school for you that pops up where you were like you were being your authentic self and like possibly foreshadowing you as a leader, and there was a moment in school that like your teacher tried to push that down?
Well, yes and no. I was a little rebellious. And, I was always a lead. Like I was still a leader, you know, whether it was Pokemon cards or Digimon or Beyblades or whatever the fuck we were doing. I was always like trend setting and uh, like facilitating battles with my friends and like getting the group together to do the thing during recess, and me and a few other friends would do that. But I had that leadership quality as a
Yeah.
kid. I can look back and see that. Um, and then also like, but to your point on a memory, and this doesn't really have to do with leadership, but of being my authenticity being shut down. I was in kindergarten and I had a crush on this girl, and I kissed her on the hand during recess one day, and
Mm,
she freaked out and told the teacher because boys have cooties, and the teacher had didn't want to. I can see the look on her face still. She didn't want to punish me for it, but I went to an evangelical Christian school, so it was a week of detention, and I couldn't play at recess with everybody else. So I had to sit down on the bench with her. And that in that moment, subconsciously taught me if I express my love, I get punished, I miss out,
mm,
outcast. And so it's no wonder why, ever since that experience, my the all throughout school was extremely shy, didn't talk to girls. All in middle school, high school, when my friends were starting to date and like play sports and stuff, I was just playing video games like by myself, and I was fine with it all. And it wasn't until my mom set me up with my ex-fiance, who became my ex-fiance, my first girlfriend. That was what broke that pattern, is actually just getting like my mom was like, okay, you're like I'm setting you up here. So I had, and it still has had ripples show up where I sometimes in a romantic relationship don't fully express myself, and now it's just like it's not, I'm not holding it back. It's just kind of like a pattern of like I have a thought, and that's all that it is. I'm not acting on it. So I've had to work on expressing what's really there for me from that experience, because it shut down so much of my genuine expression. Um,
yeah. Yeah, to me, when I hear that story, it's like just me knowing you is in a sense a foreshadowing of like who you've become, what you've created with your podcast and you as a facilitator and coach. Like it's such a simple moment and a beautiful moment that just for the listeners to have something that is seemingly small that happens to you in your childhood can really like it can have a ripple effect. So yeah, what's the phrase? No stone unturned, right? It's like there's so many different nuances in life that are linked.
and that was just one of the core ones that did shape the trajectory of my life, as you're saying. That was the beginning of the heart guy in a lot of ways, because that was the thing that shut it down, that I needed to learn how to open up again.
Yeah.
And through learning that myself is what led to everything else.
Yeah. Um, so so when you like now we're fast forwarding to more of like the inspiration where you started to become or like you got inspired to help others. When did that first start for you?
Um, Man, so again, I was shy nerd kid at school, right? All my
Yeah.
friends are playing football now and wrestling, and I'm 100 pounds skin and bones soaking wet. Like they were pinning me down. I was the last to get picked for dodgeball, like all the things, man. Like I was just not physically coordinated, active at all. It's another thing I had to build. But it started with fitness. I basically cracked one day, and I didn't know what I was doing, but my parents were out shopping or something, and I was taking a shower. I got out of the shower and looked myself in the mirror, and I started doing mirror work. Like I basically talked to myself out loud in the
Mm,
mirror and was like, "What are you doing? Like you can't live like this." Like it's like, and a little bit of it was me beating myself up, but I just got angry because my friends started picking on me. And I was like, what the fuck? So out of anger, I picked up P90X and started working out at home and got jacked.
90.
Got jacked as shit in 90 days. I'm not even joking. Everybody changed how they viewed me.
Mm,
My friends like actually enjoyed like fighting with me, wrestling with me, all the things. I was enjoying it because I could fight back. That my confidence was skyrocketing. Everybody at school was like that used to pick on me is now asking me for fitness advice. Like it was this whole thing that just totally shifted. And the company that did P90X Beachbody, they had network marketing side of everything. And I was fucking what 15, 16 when I started, and you had to be
mm,
18 to be a network marketer. So the day I turned 18, I signed up because I just wanted to help people. I wanted like to pay this forward. And so I got my start with entrepreneurship and everything with network marketing. But that was really through Beachbody was how I was able to have an outlet to support people and help others. And that kind of showed because I didn't build the network marketing thing in the traditional way, right? Like you
mm,
other people to network for you, and that's really where the money is. I was really good at sales, and I was really good at holding people accountable in the course. And
mm,
that like they would buy P90X and do it at home, and I'm holding them accountable, and we have accountability groups and all that. That was fun for me, and the sales process was fun for me. And so I doubled down on that, and then I was just so obsessed with everything with this company because it changed my life that they came out with a certification for group fitness for P90X and Insanity, which is another one they did to teach this in gyms. Now I hadn't stepped foot in a gym at all.
mm.
I'm My fitness was all home fitness, but I took it. I'm still shy about it at this point, but I still got the certification just because I loved it and didn't do anything with it for like 6 months. One day I was cleaning my room and I found the certification and I was like, I want to do something with this. So me being me, the extremist that I am, I again didn't know where the gyms were in Memphis, but I looked up on their thing, and I was the only P90X group certified instructor in like a 2,500-mile radius. And so I was like, opportunity. So I don't know how I came up with this, bro. I came up with this myself. I created a list of all the gyms in Memphis that I'd want to drive to, and I made a list and I got all the group fitness managers' names and their emails and their phone number. And I sent the same email to every single one of these people in within an hour because I just copy pasted, right? But it was like, hey, my name's Kevin. I'm the only P90X certified instructor in this giant radius. My availability is wide open. I'm first come, first serve. Oh, by the way, I just sent this email to every other gym in Memphis. And I got booked from zero, nothing in my calendar to teaching 3 classes a day, 7 days a week
Wow,
at gyms
bro.
all over. And so that just cracked my shyness, man. I had no option but to turn it on. And in the beginning, it was kind of like I just blacked out because I was like, so like, oh God. But I started to love it because through repetition, I found my groove. I found what worked. I found what people enjoyed, and um, very quickly became one of the really most popular group fitness instructors in the area and at certain gyms. And um, that was another thing that fueled me where I was like, wow, I'm really helping people. And I was able to motivate people and inspire people. And it wasn't just moving your body and the workouts. The reason people were coming to me is because of what I was saying while we were taking a break or what I was saying in the in between. Like I was just wellspring of
Oh,
inspiration. And that was because I was part of network marketing that taught about personal development. And I'm feeding my brain every single day for an hour at least with audiobooks or Tony Robbins videos or whatever it is. And again, I'm like 19 or 20 at this point. Like I'm a fucking sponge, man. I have zero
how
resistance.
how do you know?
I'm about to be 31.
Okay, 31. Gotcha. Wow.
I'm like, I have zero resistance to sales, zero resistance to network marketing, no resistance to personal development. I'm just fucking, yeah, cool. Okay, I'll do this thing, eat it up. Like, and that sparked something for me. And I can look back on that season of my life for everything that it was, and it taught me a lot of skill sets that I use now. That was
Mm,
a refinement process. While I'm not in fitness now, I'm a facilitator, and I got my
mm,
1,000 hours of facilitation in person with group fitness, and there's many skill sets that have come from that. And what you mentioned about the retreat spaces, like the way I'm able to do what I do at retreat spaces is because of how I facilitated group fitness and how many classes I facilitated, that I have this awareness that can just scan the room and I can be aware of 20 things all at the same time while I'm still focused. That was a built skill, man. Like it's different.
Mm.
It's not just cool. Yeah, let's go. Like it's really a skill, and at least how I approached it, and I eventually got on with Equinox because I moved out of Memphis, went to Dallas, and amazing man took me under his wing to learn and really refine my skills as an instructor. And so yeah, man, I'm very grateful for that season of my life. But to answer your question on like how to help people, it was through fitness. It was like, again, the people that were picking on me started asking me for fitness advice, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to help you. Like, that just feels good in my heart. And then I realized, again, because I had the leadership thing in play and fun, but I was like, whoa, there's something here. And this is important to the story, and then I'll stop blabbering. But when I left high school, I was an artist, still am, but right, I everything that was about art, I was going to go design video games. That was my life path. I was
Wow.
go to the Art Institute, and I won a scholarship to the Art Institute, and I turned it down last second to pursue exercise sports science instead, and fitness and nutrition and everything. And beyond my mom almost having a heart attack, I was like so set on if I focus on filling up my cup and what lights my soul alive, my bank account will take care of itself. But if I go the route of what like trying to make money, I'm leaving my heart up to chance. And something in me was like, I just can't move forward with art. I'm so passionate about fitness. And even when I made that decision, I knew fitness wasn't a forever thing, but I couldn't see what my forever thing was. I just knew I was gifted with fitness and I have a heart for it. And so I'm just going to give it all I got. And I'm so glad I did. And that philosophy of like, I think a lot of people, whether it's a relationship or your career, we're looking for what's the forever thing, what's the path, what's the one thing. And it's like, you don't know what you don't know and what's going to happen in your life. Like,
Mm.
focus on what you've been given and just give it all you got until maybe it transitions. But like, again, I'm glad I gave it all I got because I got skills that help me now.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, man, that aspect, give it all you got, because it's like, we really can complicate things, us as humans. And I'm definitely guilty as charged. And but it's like that's the beauty of life and this game that we're a part of, is that if you just like give it all you got in each level, like it will reveal itself. It's
Yeah.
all a part of it, but there's just those aspects of where we're like, this isn't what it's supposed to be.
Most definitely. Or because again, in fitness, I was like, man, I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. I
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. And I did, and I really love hearing your story about P90X and how that came to be, and it makes so much sense. And um, something that popped up for me while you were talking about it, just to share for some people who are starting out on their journey, how important is movement and just exercise in general for your life? Like, why is that important?
so just like anything, you can do things multiple ways. There's the person that goes to the gym because they hate their body and they want to get better. There's the person that goes to the gym because they love the gym. There's a person that goes to the gym because they love pushing themselves. There's the person that loves the gym because they want to know themselves. It's all the perspective that you view it as. I have been all of those at one point or another. Where I'm at with it now is I love the game. I love the gym. I love movement. I love pushing myself. And I really love exploring my body and exploring myself. And, not always striving to be better at this point in the game for myself. It's more of an exploration. It's more of play than it is push, 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 go, go, go. And in fact, when I get in that mode, I start usually injure myself again. So, you know, fitness is detrimental to your sense of self-awareness. And I think that's why a lot of people who get started as fitness coaches sometimes eventually become life coaches or some other sort of coach, because they'll realize what happened for me, at least, was like, I wanted to help people, and I love movement and embodiment, and I love how that made me feel different, and it had such a ripple into my life. So you want to help people have the most impact, right? Well, you are in a lot of ways experiencing life through your body. So it's how you move is how you live. Like if you are living with tension in your hips or tension in your neck or whatever, that's going to impact how you interact with the world. If you have gut problems, if you're don't have good cardiovascular health, and your capacity is going to be limited in work and in play and in all these other things, it has a ripple. It's more than just looking good and feeling good. It's more about how you feel, like your ability to sense. Your senses go up spiritually. When
Mm.
you are more in tune with your body, you're more in tune with your intuition, you're more in tune with discernment of, is this my voice? Is this God voice? Is this a conditioning loop? Like you're not thinking, it's a felt sensed experience. And so I know I got that just through fitness. Some people get it through dancing and other things. But I happen to get it through bodybuilding and fitness, and bodybuilding specifically, because that's a whole nother school of thought, which this is going to be helpful for people listening. When
Hmm.
people think fitness, they're like, lift weights, put them down, move your body in this way, and be in right form. What does it look like? That's level one of that. Level two of that is, how does it feel in your body? So to a bodybuilder, like if I'm doing a bicep curl, I'm not focused on bringing the weight up to my shoulder. I'm focused on squeezing my bicep. The weight just moves itself. And then all of a sudden you're in good form and you got good mind muscle connection. And so the same is true with any other movement, like squats. I'm going to engage my glutes and my quads. As a result, I'm just going to stand up. But if I'm so focused on what does it look like, I might compensate. I might not fully engage the right muscles that I need to engage. I might use more effort than is needed. There's so much there that can go into like some feng shui-ish type, or not feng shui, um, uh, dojo-esque type stuff with, man, what am I trying to say? Like a samurai who's, like they're fucking strong and it's all tendon
Yep.
strength, and it's like they're a needle that's surrounded by thread. Like
Mm.
they're loosey goosey, but they're really fucking strong and solid. It's the same thing. Like if I'm engaging my bicep, everything else, can I make everything else loose in my body? And just
Mm.
that, like the ability to do that has helped me in life with, can I just focus on the task at hand and let everything else settle? Or am I focusing on work, but I'm thinking about 12 other things, right? Like how you move is how you live.
Bro, that's good. That's good. I thought about Bruce Lee to like move like water or be like water.
Like water. Yeah, for real. And my ability to, like, whether it's dance and other things, is because of my somatic awareness. People are like, wow, how'd you learn to dance like that? I haven't taken dance lessons. I just know how to move my hips because I'm aware of the muscles that are in my hips.
Mm.
Like, and I'm aware of all the nuances, and I when I warm up and shit, I'm not just thinking right angles and stretch my hamstrings and do this one move. I'm playing with the nuances of the angles of my hips, and how does that feel to this part of my body, and if I move this one thing, how does this affect the other thing? It's, your body's like a Rubik's cube, and I've just gotten good at playing with it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Body is like a Rubik's cube. You do that was like that felt like a rap line. Body
Yeah,
is a Rubik's cube.
my body's a Rubik's cube. It is, man. It's and again, I'm so much more aware of my capacity. I'm aware of what a yes is for me, what a no is for me. I'm aware of the whispers of the heart, the whispers of God. I can hear it louder because my vessel is attuned to it. And when it comes to creativity or dance or whatever it is, I can turn it on again because I have that awareness to my body. Um, So, I'm more embodied and I'm not living up in my head, you could say as well. Um, there's many benefits to it, but that's, again, outside of all the health stuff, it's the way that I'm thinking about fitness and movement. It's not to look a certain way, even though I've been on stage and I have gone to looking a certain way. And
Yes.
it's not about pushing the envelope all the fucking time, which is the mainstream narrative of fitness. That's good for general advice because most people need a push,
Yeah.
but discernment. And it's like, how do I relate to myself when I get an injury? How do I relate to myself when I'm not feeling my best, but I show up in the gym anyway? And that is something that I do. I show up even if I'm not doing anything. Like, it's such a non-negotiable for me. I'll show up to the gym and just stretch for 30 minutes and leave. Like, I show up to the gym every day, period.
Yes. Every day.
Every
Beautiful.
day. Even if it's a break day, I'm showing up to the gym. Even if I feel like shit, I'm showing up to the gym. Even if I just get on the fucking treadmill, even if I walk around the building, I don't know. I'm bringing my body to the gym every day because it's what I do. And it's an anchor point for me in my day. And when I don't do it, I mean, I've been a little bit more lenient with it these days, where it's not like I'm gonna break my brain and break my day if I don't go to the gym. Like, for example, yesterday I didn't, but I danced for like 4 hours, So like I'm still moving my body.
Yeah. You're in accordance with just Kevin's nature, man. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. And
every
trusting that.
day.
And I'm to the point now, and this is something that everybody gets to look forward to, where I'm not programming for myself, like set a workout program. I don't follow a workout program. I go to the gym and go, what feels good to do today?
Boom.
And I do that. I haven't followed a program really. I mean, I've followed some loosely, and I'm like, oh, I like this workout. Let me do that again. But I haven't strictly followed a program in probably like 4 years.
That's beautiful, man. And I feel it's a good nugget for the listeners too, is it's like, you guys, you don't necessarily need an exercise program. And what I'm gathering from what you're saying, Kevin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that as long as you are having fun and with your experience, that's going to help guide you in your movement journey.
Yeah, and I'll say this, some people do need in the beginning because like I know what to do because I did for years follow programming. So
Mm,
now I know it works and I have things to pull from, right?
got it.
And I enjoy a blend of working out alone and then working out with friends. If I just work out with friends, it unhit. If I just work out alone, I get all isolated and hermity and it's not good. So like I enjoy a blend of that too. And so again, it's just also because I've been doing this for over 10 years, right? I mean, when you're at a certain level with it, you can let go of things. So I'm just want to emphasize it by saying that. Also, I haven't counted calories in fucking forever.
Mhm.
Like I'm eating intuitively as well. I just know what my body wants. I know when to stop eating. And that was a learned skill, having gone the other extreme of always counting macros and against being on stage and performing in bodybuilding shows and stuff like that.
Yes.
Everything was measured. I had to weigh shit. I had to input it all in my fitness pal or whatever it was that I was using. And I've gone that extreme, and it says like at some point you have to zoom out and go, wait a second, I'm doing this to improve my life. Like, can I have a little bit more fun with it? Can I be a little bit more lenient on myself? And I think, it's interesting. We're doing this, recording this at the beginning of January, and people set New Year's resolutions. And I think we're kind of over that as a collective right now, but oh, I'm gonna get fit and whatever. And then we go on this extreme diet of cool. No, I'm not going to eat this ever. And it's like, okay, like,
You gotta learn.
so it's be gracious with yourself. Don't ever say ever really. Just can you focus on eating more healthier foods and changing your lifestyle to a lifestyle that you actually want. And it's kind of the same thing with whether it's a business or a relationship. Start with the end in mind.
Mhm.
You know, how do you want to eat when you're on vacation? How do you want to work out when you're on vacation? Because guess what? If you love the game, you're gonna.
Ooh. I just like I got a vision of like like a rap. I can't rap. It's like if you're gonna play the game, you're gonna do it. Whatever.
Yeah, man. And
Uh,
that's funny you bring that up because I've been saying this to clients recently. We play our own games.
yes. Yeah.
Whether like if you think something's gonna be hard, it's gonna be hard. If you think it's gonna take a long time, it's gonna take you a long time. It's a weird egoic thing that we do to jump through hoops to feel like we deserve something.
Mm, mm,
So like I need to feel worthy of love. So I need to do all of these things in my relationship to then prove myself that then I can finally relax and rest into receiving the love that's there, or whatever it is. And it's like, what if is that do you like playing that game?
mhm.
There's there's horizontal change and there's vertical evolution. So I'm actually writing about this in my book. I'm writing a book right now.
Oh,
Uh,
beautiful.
and horizontal change is going from binge eating to counting calories and fitness obsessed. You still have an obsessive consciousness that's running the show. It looks like change. It is change, but, and it could even be positive change, but through the lens of the heart, you're still in a prison. You went from one prison to another prison. You can't live free of an obsession with food. One of them was obsessively eating, one of them was obsessively controlling it.
Mm,
You see what I mean? So then
yeah.
there's vertical evolution, which is how do I evolve my consciousness and my relationship with food in general to not be as obsessive with it, we could say. And then that is where you find more freedom. That's where the real change happens, and you don't have to willpower results.
Mm, beautiful. Um, so question. So we're kind of, I wanted to get back into you getting into more of the self-growth and the facilitation and that that area.
Okay.
But I'd love to ask this question for you. What why are mentors and coaches like mentors to you important?
Man, so you don't have all the fucking answers. And choose a mentor and choose somebody to guide you who you would trade that area of life with. That's something that I learned the hard way. What are
Say
they
that
mentoring
one more
you
time.
on? So what is your mentor? What are they mentoring you on? And would you want their life in that area?
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. And that's important because they're going to guide you on how they got what they got. So would you want to do it how they did it? And would you want to get the results they got? Because that's exactly what they're going to teach you, train you on. So have some discernment on that. But it's very crucial. And I went to the point where I always had a mentor for everything in every area of life, whether it was a book or an actual person that I hired. And then I went on this season of like, let me not have any mentors and just be on my own for a little bit. And that was very healing, but I also got quote unquote derailed a little bit into where now I'm in the season of hiring mentors again. And so it's everybody's own journey with it, right? But it's pretty important to
Yeah.
me. Like, yeah, because we can't see what we can't see. We point out our blind spots, help us hold us accountable, whatever it is. Um, and I think people don't, if they have resistance to it, in my opinion, it's because they want the credit to say that they did it by themselves, which,
Mhm.
there's not a trophy for that in the graveyard.
That's it's true.
Yeah.
That's why it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no trophy for that in the graveyard. Facts. Could you share a specific is there a specific role model in your life, whether in past, present, or somebody that's just been ultimately guiding you this entire way of your life that jumps out to you as far as a role model?
Yeah. I've been asked this a lot, and I would say I have multiple in different seasons of my life because I don't have one person.
Mhm.
Um, because I like this from that person and this from that person and type of a thing. And really where I'm at now with it, I'm recognizing that I've been following God
Mm.
and certain expressions. So, um, man, where I'm at with it now is I don't really pedestalize people as much. I mean, we all shit. Everybody takes a shit, you know. Everybody's got shit. It's just part of the being a human. And so, yeah, and I don't know. I don't have many role models per se. I
Yeah.
I admire certain things about certain people,
Yeah.
but I'm not like, oh my God, I want to be like this person. I don't really do that anymore.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah, I resonate with that too. It's and it's all a learning process, but yeah, it's the yeah, pedestalizing is gonna teach you teach you real quick, or not so quick. Maybe it'll take a long time for you to realize that you've been pedestalizing people. But yeah, that's I appreciate that transparency too with role models, and I'd love to actually a little later in the conversation talk a little bit more about God. Um, but yeah, so let's dive in to your journey. I would honestly, I would love for you to share your journey about your near death experience. Um, and I I'm pretty sure that I'm right in saying this is that it catapulted you into um just like learning about trauma research, things like that. So if you could just for the viewers share or listeners share your story or like take us on a journey.
Yeah, man. So, it was with San Pedro, which is cactus. Huachuma is another word for it.
Mm,
I overdosed. I had enough for like 30 people by accident, and you can't really overdose on the medicine itself. But what was happening with me, I didn't realize because I took it when it was powdered that it expands in liquid, and it was expanding in my stomach, and I wasn't throwing up, so it was rupturing my stomach lining and my colon and a bunch of stuff. So, um, that experience, I mean, it was really traumatic. I was high for 3 days. I was full on psychotic for a month afterwards, hearing voices, forgetting half of my day. Um, it was pretty rough. Thank God that I was with a somatic experience practitioner who was able to like bring me back to life um, in that time, and I worked with them for about a year and a half, which deepened my work with understanding trauma and my connection to my body, ironically,
mm,
in a different way. But yeah, man, it was rough. It was with somebody who was out of integrity and didn't know what they were doing. And I had sat with in ceremony with this medicine many times, and it was all beautiful experiences, but this one was different, obviously. And yeah, so I mean, I'll say this. Yeah, it was a bad trip. And I've talked with many people who've had near death experiences or have died and come back to life, whatever it is, and they describe the same things that I've experienced
mm,
with kind of this feeling of going upwards, bliss, seeing a light at a tunnel type of a situation. And I saw it and realized what was happening, and I literally slapped myself. So I was like, fuck no. Like, I was like, I'm not going there. And so I spent, after that experience, and my consciousness was I was so high, and I was time jumping, and I was in this full psychotic episode that if I like relax, I would live an entire lifetime.
mm,
And then I'd snap and bring myself back to it, and I'd relax again, and I'd snap and bring myself back to it. But what was maybe half a second felt like years. And so I'm sitting there for probably 30 minutes, slapping myself,
mm,
headache, and I just kept saying my name over and over again: Kevin Wade Crenshaw, Kevin Wade Crenshaw, Kevin Wade Crenshaw, Kevin Wade Crenshaw,
mm.
because I was bringing myself back into my body because I was floating away. And I think that was a huge anchor point for me, um, to not really fully lose it or myself.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it was rough.
yeah. Mm. Taking a
Ended up,
moment with
ended
that.
up,
Yeah,
yeah, I ended up throwing up.
yeah.
And it was like a salad bowl's worth of rainbow colored stuff, like yellow and green and black. And it was really odd. And again, the person that was facilitating, I mean, she was even scared, and it was this whole ordeal. But yeah, I learned a lot of what not to do, and and my intuition told me not to do the ceremony going into it, but I was like, oh, it doesn't make sense. Like this is gonna help me, and so I was ignoring the signs. But yeah, that's essentially the story of that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that too. I I think this is really helpful for listeners to hear this. Um, you know, yeah, because like plant medicine is no fucking joke.
It's not.
It's no fucking joke. And I've had my own experiences with things and um and it's quite frankly like um yeah, it's really hard to put it into words of those, but it's like I feel like plant medicine has been talked a lot and brought to the consciousness a lot lately, and it can be dangerous, especially if if like there's a moment where your ego just takes over and it's like yeah like it's all good. So just for the listeners, like um that is going back to mentors and role models. It's like to have a reflection or somebody that can help ground you
Mhm.
in making decisions as well. It's like we don't have to do this all alone. Basically, is what I'm saying. But I really helpful in sharing that story because like I was putting myself in your shoes, like in that moment, which was like, oh man, I've definitely had my experiences as of like, holy crap, like this is it's feeling like a very like getting into psychosis a little bit here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
not
yeah.
something to play with.
So when that happened, like, you know, once that happened, what would you say that was a catalyst moment to where you started to dive into working deeper into trauma and research?
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea. I no else. Like, I had nothing else to do. That was my life was coming back to life and understand,
Oof.
bringing myself back and soul retrieval, if you want to call it that, and all these things. Yeah, that was deep for me because it was like, oh, that was my experience of understanding the nervous system. This is when trauma informed and the talk of the nervous system was becoming kind of mainstream as well. So I kind of caught it at a
Mm,
good time.
mm,
And again, working with actually a trained professional in this and not just somebody who's throwing the word around was also very supportive for me to actually understand the subtleties of everything. Now, you could say spiritually, I brought myself to the near death because I was an extremist and all the other things, but and in one lens that I did, but also it taught me all the subtleties of life. And yeah, I was able to heal my nervous system. And then I was able to, I had many years of gut healing to do. It took me 4 years. It's been 5 since this happened. And it's taken me 4 years to actually heal my gut from all of the damage that was done. And that was also the year following. Well, I wasn't psychotic. I experienced a very strong connection from your gut health to your mental health because I developed leaky gut, loose gut, and a bunch of other IBS and all these other things in my stomach. And so if I ate something that disrupted my stomach at all, I was mentally gone. Like
mm.
I couldn't fucking focus. It was weird, man. And I really got to see the correlation of mental health and gut health. So I learned a lot through experience. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Yeah. What's one book in your research of trauma that like for low hanging fruit, like what would be a book that you'd recommend?
Yeah. Um, anything from Peter Levine is great. Also, the Feldenkrais method, not talked about a lot. Also, something very helpful that
What
taught me
book is that?
about Feldenkrais.
Feldenkrais.
Oh, You'll have to try to spell it in Google and figure out how to
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
But yeah, that method is a method of movement that essentially helped me understand my body better to help me bring myself back
Got
in
it.
that. And then again, I think that a trauma that people don't talk about, because we're so focused on the nervous system and the musculoskeletal system, is your gut and the attack on gut health that is in America right now is insane. So just studying your gut health and like getting checked and proper blood work and all of that. It's like maybe you're not anxious. Maybe there's something actually going on in your stomach that's not supposed to be going on, or a lack of healthy microbiome or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm, that's good. What what would now like I'm gonna pull us into to what you do right now,
Yeah.
um, which honestly I've just I've been following your journey obviously, and like it's really powerful. Um, what would you say is the most common barrier people face when they're trying to connect with their heart?
You know, yeah. I could say being in your head and overthinking things, which is true. I could say your inability to feel, and you've been so up in your head for so much of your life that you just you're not feeling, which could be true. Um, More than anything, I think it's the parasite of shame.
Mhm.
And I say parasite because most people don't realize it's there, just like when you have parasites. And parasites create their own needs. They create their own sugar cravings to stay alive, right? And so you'll have a need of behavior, whether it's judgment or a protection mechanism or whatever it is, that's not actually truly you. It's the shame trying to stay alive. And when you start starving it, just like when you do a parasite cleanse, your cravings go through the roof.
Say
It's
that
just
last part again.
your cravings go through the roof,
Yeah.
right? When you're doing a parasite cleanse, the same happens spiritually. And so it's also just recognizing that as well. Um, and I see that like parasites of the mind and parasites of being, and we don't even recognize that they're there. And so call it epigenetics, generational stuff, trauma, whatever it is, there is a parasitic spirit, we could say, on you that you think is you. And your patterns that you think are your patterns and stuff that you need to work on, it's a parasite. It's not you. But when you hold it through the lens of this is me and my trauma, and I have this pattern of being shut down and avoidant, or I have this pattern of whatever, you're identifying with what the parasite is. It's not you. So to answer your question, people are disconnected from their hearts because they're not identifying with it. Your heart-centered self is your higher self. It is your soul. That is the real you. All the human shit, the ways we get in the way of that, through my understanding of it, where I'm at in my life right now, is that it's parasites blocking the path, and we're identifying with it, and that's like making an agreement basically with the spirit, saying, "Yep, cool, I'll keep playing this game. I'll keep playing this game." And when I did that myself, I was perpetually in a healing loop, and no amount of healing would heal me until I stopped that healing game and recognized, wait a second, what if I don't need healing? What if I just need saving from this fucking game that I'm playing?
Mm.
Oh, wait a second. Yeah, there's work to do and all the shit, but like I was identifying with my lesser than self. I was identifying with my shame. I was identifying with my trauma. I was identifying with my shortcomings. I was seeing it all as myself. When, wait a second, I'm my soul. I'm not my emotions. I'm not my body. I'm not my thoughts. I'm my soul, which is timeless, which is full of unconditional love. which is more connected to God than any other part of me. And so when I shifted my identity to that, I saw a different perspective. Again, conscious shift, vertical evolution. And I was able to see all the games that I was playing and not need to jump through the hoops in order to achieve the result. I stopped playing the game of my ego and played the game of my spirit. And sure, you still have an ego, like, but I stopped playing its games. I stopped. Everybody needs to hear this. I stopped trying to be enough. I stopped trying to feel worthy. And instead, I just focused on being safe.
That's beautiful, man.
Like, you'll never win the worthiness game. Who's won it? Show me somebody who feels worthy all the time. It's a game that's a fucking. It's like one of those merry-go-rounds, man. There's no end to it. You're just gonna keep going. You're gonna feel great, and then you're not. You're gonna feel great, and then you're not. You're gonna feel great, and then you're not. Like, can you just focus on being safe?
Mm.
And when it comes to, and I do a lot of relationship coaching, and when it comes to worthiness and love, I tell my clients that's one of the first things I nit in the butt is like, we're not playing that game. You're worthy. You don't have to do shit. You thinking that you need to heal something or be something else in order to get love is the same abandonment that you created when you were a fucking kid that caused this whole other split in self-abandonment and trauma and all the things. You want to find yourself, identify as your soul, and stop trying to feel worthy. And it's not about recognizing that I'm already worthy. No, just don't even use the fucking word. Soul.
Still do it.
Yeah. That's how deep the game goes. That's how deep that parasitic loop can be.
It's so funny. Like I was gonna, like, yeah, we're gonna talk. Like I'm gonna ask you some questions on God. I'm like, we're already talking about God right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
man.
I felt like that was gonna happen anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's just like again the complexity of human beings and where they that the whole thing about worth. And I feel, and I'll just speak for myself, like the whole aspect of worth, it's like it like I've had these, like, whatever seed was planted from my past of like, oh, like you won't make money, like dot dot dot, if you haven't like like it's there's a whole mind games with the
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. It is. It's a loop, man. It's like, yeah, a lot of people are playing the worthiness game, and I'm just gonna play the identity game. Where's my identity? We're
Beautiful.
all playing a game, so just what game are you playing? And it's not to denounce the work. Like, I
Sure.
still work to do always. It's never gonna end, but like, I don't make it my fucking job. I don't make it my identity. I'm not always in a fucking healing thing. It's like, cool, got some stuff to work on. Like, think about it like, you got a project in the garage you're working on, or you're overhauling something in the kitchen. Like, cool, it'll get done. It's not like I need to fix this so that I can everything be perfect. Like, work on it when I'm ready to work on it. Like, I'm good. And I can be okay with things being messy, and I can be okay with things being in progress. And I have a patience
Mm,
to process that all happen now.
mm.
I don't need the instant fix, which is where I think why a lot of people are going to plant medicine, because they're like, let me just take this and then I'll be healed. Uh, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's like, good luck with that game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man, in the plant medicine. Yeah. But yeah, I could go down a whole rabbit hole with that. Uh, how do you define heartache?
Well, it's scientifically real.
Mm,
Oh, when you're in heartache, your heart is actually enlarged, and you're experiencing pain, neurological, or in the nerves in your heart. So it's a real thing. It's not just psychological.
mm,
Um, and there's a certain perspective of looking at it of like, well, if I'm my heart and I'm unconditional love, then it's just my ego who's hurt. I'm not hurt.
mhm.
Uh, which can be hard to say when you're talking to somebody who's going through heartbreak, right? So it's a real part of evolution. Just the heart, Rumi quote, the heart doesn't just break, it breaks open.
Mm,
So can you just allow that process to happen? Because again, you're feeling. You might be feeling uncomfortable, and you might be feeling grief, and you might be feeling sorrow, and you might be feeling all the things, but you're feeling, which is opening, which is letting more love and light in. So it's a part of the process. And I've been through a lot of heartbreak in my life, heartache in my life, and um, it's important to feel it.
yeah. Um, do you have a particular right now or some because I'm sure it changes for you, but like do you have a particular process that you could guide or not guide, but just a process to help someone grieve?
Grief, yeah. Grief is interesting. It's not the same for everybody.
Mm, mm,
So I'll say this, it's important to remember that you can feel joy and grief at the same time. So don't deny yourself happiness while you're in your grief. You don't need to feel it intensely and go into this dungeon and all the things. Like, have fun, enjoy life, and you can have a tender heart and still be healing and still be grieving, and that gets to be okay. And I think probably one of the biggest things that I would just direct people to is not ruminating and as much. And again, that's a part of the grieving process, but
mm,
can you bring yourself into the present moment
mm,
and just be like, I feel sad, and not put a story about because they left me and because this isn't going to happen anymore and because I just feel sad. Can you just let it be that? Because when we ruminate, oftentimes there's a deeper emotion that is looking to come up, and we're over analyzing so that we can figure it out or whatever. What helped my grief process too was seeing a higher perspective and seeing the perspective of my soul and being like, I didn't fuck up, they didn't fuck up, this was all perfect. And actually seeing that perspective and writing out reasons how it was meant to happen that way,
mm,
connecting the dots type of thing. And
mm,
then that helped my grief tremendously because I depersonalized it. And there's this saying that again, I wrote this in my book. It's over personalized because, or it's over, it's over, it's oversensitive because it's over personalized.
mm,
And so it's like, well, what if it wasn't about you? What if this was about more than just you? What if it was more, what if it was God at work and the separation just needed to happen or the loss needed to happen for reasons maybe that you can't see now or reasons that you'll be able to look back on and be like, whoa, I'm so grateful.
mm, mm,
And so when that helps me a lot. When I look back at things that I used to really be in grief about, and then maybe it starts to creep up, or I start beating myself up, and I'm like, dang, or I start experiencing shame about it all because of beating myself up so much and taking on all the responsibility. I just go, you know what? Wow. And I look at all the good. And we're stacking all the negatives usually in grief. This didn't happen, this can't happen anymore, this person's no longer alive or in my life, or what I'm missing out on, what will never happen. And when you're stacking that shit, of course you're going to be sad. But can I also stack the good at the same time? It's just being realistic. It's kind of like seeing through rose-colored glasses and you're just seeing the good in somebody and you're ignoring all the red flags. We do that also in the opposite way with grief, where we just look at all the quote unquote red flags or things that are wrong and we don't even like think of all the good.
mm.
But the good can also cause grief and other things. That's okay. Just let it out. Um, I guess really what I'm saying here is perspectives. Just watch your perspectives with grief. It be a slippery slope where you start to go into a shame spiral and you lock yourself into grief and you need to just feel it more intensely and all this stuff. Like trust the process and it'll come. Like when you need to fart, you'll fart. When you need to take a shit, you'll take a shit. Like you don't need to sit on the toilet and first force it out, but we do that with our emotions.
Love,
you know?
bro, so good. It's so true, man.
But for real,
Hey, you gotta take a shit.
just it'll hit. You'll know when it's time to grieve, and you'll know when it's time. You don't need to force it out. And I want to say that here because I just think that there's a lot of people that are trying to force the process,
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
causes strain and hernias. So don't get a spiritual hernia because you're trying to force your emotional process.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Well, like intuitively, I just want to ask about this because
Yeah.
I'm sure this is yeah, just our conversations about it have grown. Like when did was your relationship, the strength of your relationship with God was that did you discover that relationship through the grieving process or was that through
I experienced it. Yeah. I mean, I reached the end of myself, as I like to say. Like I had done
Mhm.
life Kevin's way, and I was broke and homeless again, and emotionally broke and physically going through shit. And I was just like, what the fuck? And that was the shift of like, okay, there's more to God than I am than I can have seen. I humbled myself, and I was like, God's will, not mine. And the quest for understanding that brought me closer to God, of like what really is God's will versus my will. And there's the lens of like, well, you are God and your will is God's will. And I honestly was just like, okay, maybe, but what if there was a higher power here? And what if I have less control of my life than I think? Because I went through all the personal development stuff and it was all about personal power and taking charge of your life. And look at where that led me. Sure, I got some skills, but in this past year of really devoting my life to God and God's will and refining that relationship, my life may look different, but spiritually, I've matured more in this year than I have in my entire life combined, I would say. The level of embodied patience that I have right now is God given. My human is not patient at all. And I've noticed myself be more patient. And then it catches me off guard. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? Oh, because I'm giving it all up to God. And I'm like, God, your will, not mine. Over and over again. Cool. Your will, not mine. I'm just going to show up and be me and have fun. And I'm going to be in obedience as much as I can to you. Your will, not mine. Where do you want me? Bring me there. You want me to stop coaching and stop podcasting and go clean up poop off the street? Sure. That'd be weird, but okay. Like that's my level of faith right now. Like, all right, that's a little weird, but if that's what you want,
My son,
sure.
my
Um,
son, go clean up poop on the
yeah.
street.
But people get that. They're like, God tells you to leave that relationship or leave that job, and you don't do it,
Yeah.
and shit hits the fan. But you won't do it. And it's like I saw this reel that was like how you think God's path for your life will look. It's like, my son, leave your job and you'll get a check in the mail every 30 days for exactly your rent. And then in 2 months, you'll realize you want to be an entrepreneur and start this business. And in a year, you'll be a millionaire. And it's like, wow, thanks, God. Okay. And then the next one's like, my son, I need you to leave your job. What? God?
Wait, I'm stranded here. What's going on?
Yeah.
And then God's in the room and just is like, God out.
Yeah. But it's just like I just have more trust in that.
Yeah.
I I humbled myself, man. I'm like, I'm not perfect and I don't have all the answers. And I can show up and keep doing my best, and that's about it.
Mm, mm,
Um, have to have some discernment to walk the path and just abide in God and closer to that relationship, and to be more in prayer and worship, and embodying more of that unconditional love. And as far as my life trajectory goes, the fuck do I know? So there's so much changing in the world right now that we can't foresee, with AI growing its own intelligence. And like, dude, when we're 80, what the fuck? We can't, like, we didn't think about AI 10 years ago. What's going to be in 10 years from now? You know what I mean? Like, so why would I sit here and think that I know better than, an intelligence that's either orchestrating it all or all knowing? One of
mm.
the two. or both. So it's like, I'm just gonna do that. And again, from how I've grown spiritually, like I said, in my patience and my love and my understanding of things and my discernment and my level of joy, bro. Holy shit. Like my worry is just almost non-existent. I have healthy worry now, but like, it's insane what's happened in my life in those realms, just from my growing my connection with God,
Mm.
and and being in as a living sacrifice to God. Like, I continuing to be like, I don't know fuck about shit. God, where do you want me? And it's bringing me to the craziest, like, how did I find myself here type of things. And it's only been a year, bro. So I'm just gonna keep riding that train.
Yeah, bro. That's beautiful. And I'm it's like, what do I know? Yeah, man. Yeah, there's a lot of humbling that happens there. Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge you because I've just seen your journey and seen that path on social media, but just like through our personal relationship, and it's I've seen that growth within you too.
Thank you, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah. What looking at I sometimes I have to go back to these questions just so I'm not going off the rails here. Um, what are some common misconceptions, or what is a misconception that's been on your heart lately about relationships and heartache in in that
Oh,
space?
that love is scarce.
Love is scarce. Mm.
The thought of the one, like, that is at the core of a lot of relational stuff that's not really talked about. Oh, but like, they're so amazing, and like, I need to morph myself and contort myself into what they want, so that that's not really me, so that maybe I don't miss out on the one. Well, if they don't love you for who you are, then they're probably not the fucking one, right? Like, but we're doing that, and the love is scarce, or it's pervasive. I see the fruits of it everywhere. I lived the fruits of that for a really long time. Um, and so I'm just seeing how wild it is, um, in the consciousness of the collective. So that's a misperception that I want to open people's eyes to. Is it's like, sure, there might be the one, but you need to be yourself and be the one first, and then trust whoever shows up. Like, it's like, oh, this works kind of. Okay, cool. Let's make it work. Like, and then you're just that will cause a lot of problems. Um, and I don't. And then another one that's been on my heart recently, and it's not a misconception. It's just something, again, to bring awareness to, is like, your partner's not going to solve all of your needs. We need community. We need, you know, I need guy time. She needs girl time. Like, that's a big part of it. That's what actually today is what I'm doing. I'm spending some time with the boys. She's spending some time with her girlfriends. Like, and that is healing. And we were like, whoa, like, we've just been spending so much time with each other because we love each other so much. But like,
Mm.
we need to charge this polarity battery a little bit. And so, having a life outside of the relationship is another way to put that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I wow. I resonate with that. I love that you said charging the polarity battery. It's like, yeah, you can get in enmeshed in your each other's lives. I mean, this is from my experience,
Yeah.
enmeshed in a person's life, and then all of a sudden you're like, yo, like it almost feels like you're for my nervous system, it's like it like or I lose sight of Jared's how Jared likes to be or like around men and things like that. It's yeah.
Yep. I can relate a lot, because I've been the guy who was just my life was there, like, all about their life. And towards the end of last year, I really started to break out of that. Finally, took me forever, but just recognizing the pattern first off, and then actually setting boundaries and being like, actually, I'd love to hang out right now, but no, I need some space, or no, I need to work on work right now, or whatever it is. And as a recovering like people pleaser, codependent, nice guy, that was huge for me.
Yeah. Uh, um, s- speak a little bit to uh, the recovering people pleaser, nice guy. Like, what does that mean to you? What does that mean?
Yeah. Mr. Nice Guy or codependent, as in you'll do anything to please her. You're pleasing her. Which is different than, or you're a pleaser, which is different than pleasing her. Um, the amount of self-sacrifice, putting your needs last over and over again, and all of that. Again, losing yourself, losing your sense of self in an unhealthy way, right? And there's, again, this is a part of my book that I'm writing, that there's this
What's the title of that book?
I don't know yet.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Reveal itself.
It's gonna reveal itself. But one of the chapters just talks about power and love, where if you weren't in your power, it wasn't really love. You're self-abandoning to build a connection. And if it's just power with no love, that's abuse. So the harmony of those two is where I'm sovereign and in myself and in my sense of power, and also I'm connected, and we're building a connection at the same time. And that skill set, I think, is missing in a lot of people, because they're either self-abandoning or they're just all about themselves, and finding partners who tag along with that narrative. So for me, it was essentially reclaiming my sense of power and feeling safe and okay to say no to hanging out. Because, I think about it with my dynamic with my mom. If I say no to my mom, like, all hell would break loose. So consciously, if I'm saying no to a woman, even if it's okay with her, I think I'm obligated to say yes. And so I've just been exercising that muscle of, well, what does Kevin want? And actually, when I fill up that tank, I'm able to show up more, and the polarity is different, and everything else is totally different. So, I'm in that reclamation right now, in that experience. And this isn't like a inner work thing where I'm like healing childhood trauma and like going back to the time when, like, I'm just showing up different in the relationship.
Yeah.
I'm noticing it and then going, oh, let me just focus on saying no a little bit more. Whoa, that feels weird in my body. Hey, I'm think that if I say no to this, you're gonna hate me, like, or whatever. I voice it in the moment, and then we're because it's a safe relationship, we're able to talk about things, and then, cool. No, I'm gonna go have fun. Okay, bye. Oh wow, she still loves me. Oh wow, she didn't leave. Oh wow, I didn't get chewed out, or it didn't backfire as if you don't love me, or whatever the fuck the story was. So I'm giving myself disconfirming experiences where my narrative thought that one thing was going to happen, and when I had to experience something opposite, oh wow, that disconfirmed what I thought was going to happen. That's healing.
Yeah. Yeah. Very healing.
Yeah.
Um, Tell me about what brought you to start, because from my understanding right now, you've been focusing on helping women in relationship. Is that correct? What brought you to that? Like what kind of bloomed there?
Uh, I've been doing this work for almost 8 or 7 years now, and I realized that my clientele is 95% women. So I said, wow, I've never marketed to women, but let me see what happens when I start marketing to women.
Hmm.
And it's very new for me to market directly to women. Again, it's the same stuff that I would do with men, but women were just so open to the work. And the
Sure.
only thing that's really changed right now that I'm aware of is, um, I'm talking to a lot more, instead of just all the healing stuff like I was doing before. I'm now talking to, like, this is when he does this, this is what he means, and like giving a male's perspective to things, and helping women understand men, and, as I call it, Menglish, or men language. Like, when he says, no, I'm not free tomorrow, it doesn't mean that he doesn't love you. It just means he's not free tomorrow. Like that type of thing.
Mm,
Uh, and that's been really cool to see the ripple of
English. I like this.
women being like, holy shit, I totally changed how I asked that question, and now he's showing up at my house with flowers. What the fuck, Kevin? I'm like, yeah. Like, so I'm helping them in that way, showing up different. for men as well, which is really cool.
Beautiful. Can you share some moments that, I mean, just like what you shared with that woman about the flowers, is there any other
Yeah.
moment?
So with her, it was like she's in this newish relationship and things are great, kind of long distance. They get together once a month and there's this trip that was planned and he wasn't really pressing and she kept beating around the bush trying to ask about it and she had these feelings coming up and the way she was asking like, hey, I'd really like to talk, and he's like, no, I'm not really free, like I'm doing life. And I'm like, you're coming around, this doesn't feel like, if I were to read this, it doesn't feel like it's important. Like, hey, I'd love to talk soon. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm with my boys and we're at Vegas and all this other stuff. Like, I'll call you when I can. It doesn't seem like, hey, I really need to talk to you urgent. And so she's a business coach. That's what she does.
Mhm.
And I said, I need you to schedule a meeting with your man. Turn on your business coach for a second and be a little bit more blunt and direct. And she goes, okay, I'll try that. And she was like, hey, this is really important to me. I need to have a meeting with you in the next 2 days about this. When's good? And he totally showed up for her. And she was having the story that he doesn't care about me, all this stuff, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
you needed to speak to what's gonna have him take action. You're beating around the bush. That would work with your girlfriends. They'd be like, "Oh, she's hinting at something. What's really here? Okay, tell me about your feelings." Like he's out living his life, having fun. He's not going to stop. Wait a second. There might be something here. Call her on the spot. Like that's it's like for men, it's different. And so even the way we think is different. And I'm explaining that.
Yeah.
And that's really what I love about my signature program is about it's like healing first and healing somatic your somatic relationship to intimacy and relationships, how you bring yourself to it, right? Then it's all about the power love thing that we talked about, being in power and in relationship at the same time and finding that. Then it's understanding men in this conversation that we've been talking about. And then it's the last bit of this is really calibrating to team, which is another thing that's missing in a lot of relationship stuff on Instagram. I mean, scroll Instagram. It's all about what does it work or not? Do this or don't. Like red flags, or you need to do this in the relationship. And there's not a talk about the energy of teamwork. Do
Mm.
you feel like they have your back? And do you feel like a team? Or are y'all just two individuals having fun next to each other? Which can, if that's what you want, great. But if you want a long-term relationship, from the interviews that I've done with couples who've been together for over a decade, and they're still like very passionately in love, they made it through really difficult things. They've cultivated this sense of teamwork. They've all done it in different ways, but that's another thing that I teach at the end of the course is how
Mm.
do you from that place. Because I'm finding it's a lot more rare than you would think. It's like, this is me in my life. That's you. That's your inner work. What do you need? It's like, well, what about us?
That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I count on you? One thing that I used to really have work around was feeling considered. I want to feel considered in things. Even if I say, yeah, sure, go ahead. I want you to be like, hey, want to run this by you. Does this feel good to you? Like if you just go do it because you think you feel safe and everything's good, and I don't feel safe. Like, well, I don't feel safe that you didn't even check in. And the relationships are like a three-legged race. Remember, you like tie your legs together. Like
Yeah.
you have to work together or you're gonna fall or you're gonna hurt somebody or whatever it is. And I think people think that it's just running next to each other at the same pace. It's like,
Mm.
no, your legs are tied. You got to have a strategy. You got to communicate. Like if you move in one direction, it affects your partner. Everything that you do when you're in a relationship affects your partner. So you can't be independent anymore. You have to put to death your independent life. You're now in a relationship. So everything that you do sends a signal to your partner, sends a message to your partner. What's the message? And that's up for y'all to decide. That I care about you, that we're in this together, that we're drawing closer together, or is it like, oh, I'm just doing me, and then it's being mindful of your teammate. Like I don't know if we're just in a world where like being a teammate, you know.
Yeah.
And again, I'll refer one more time. I'm kind of on a tangent here, but my podcast, the couples that I've interviewed and I've studied like what's working, basically. And they feel like a team. They're both individually growth oriented, and they have a mutually agreed upon agreements. Like these are, whether it's standards for the relationship or values or non-negotiables, or guidelines. They've created some sort of rule book to follow. They feel like a team, and they're both growth oriented. So they're growing through their shit. And then as something comes up, they're able to grow through it, and they're able to grow through it together, and they grow through it as a team. And it's totally different than somebody who's not growth oriented and somebody who is trying to get the other person to be growth oriented.
Yeah.
Right. And just doing the work and going to the things doesn't make you growth oriented. Look at how somebody lives. How often do they transform? How often do they shift? How often do they grow personally? Pay attention. And that's why patience is so huge in relationship. It's like you got to really give yourself a chance to know somebody.
Mhm. This is just popped up for me genuinely because I'm curious. What are your thoughts on polyamory?
I think it personally, it's not for me.
Mhm.
I've opened that door and peeked inside, curious, and been like, I don't think actually no. Because it great sounds like a fantasy, but just outside looking in, looking at the fruit of the like the people who are doing it and looking at their lives, I'm like, I don't want that.
Mm,
So I just realized it's not for me, and yeah.
yeah.
Beyond that, I don't really have any judgments of it
Hmm.
because I haven't done it, and there's some, I could sit here and be like, well, it's this, and I could psychoanalyze it, but I don't know. I haven't done it, and
Yeah.
it's not for me. So I don't
Yeah.
really think about it much. But I've coached couples who are poly. I've coached couples who um, every sexual orientation under the sun,
Mhm.
and love is love. So all the same stuff still applies. I would just tweak the understanding men thing with your relationship with the masculine. There'd be a few shifts here and there. Obviously, poly. There's a book, was it Polysecure or something like that? Ethical Slut is the
Mm,
name of it. And it just talks about like effective communication essentially. And
yeah.
that's one thing that is a positive for people who are poly is I mean, if you're doing it right, you have to communicate like insanely pristine, you know.
Yeah.
So, that's a skill set that's built from that I can see as a positive.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that your perspective on that because yeah, it's like uh the through line that you said is coming from a place of love. Like and um all in all, like whatever you do, from my understanding, what you just said is it's communication is paramount,
Yeah.
especially being a team.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just like imagining now. It's like, could you imagine just not communicating? Like, oh, I'm going to go sleep with someone outside of this relationship, and you didn't communicate that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how that would affect the relationship too?
Totally. And we can see it with extreme stuff like that, but we don't see it with the little things.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the little things are the big things in relationship because relationships are like a bank account. This, for the guys listening, this is one that really clicks with a lot of men for some reason. Relationships are like a bank account. If you have 100 grand in the bank and you withdraw $5, it ain't shit. If you have $50 in the bank and you withdraw $5, it's a pretty big chunk. You're like,
Hmm.
it's going to hit you different, you know? Um, and the same is true with relationships. So the if somebody's relationship is in turmoil, quote unquote, their balance is low.
Ooh, yeah, that's a
Every little withdrawal that naturally is going to happen is going to be bigger and have more of an effect. And the relationship, this is kind of like a John Gottman type of thing. The relationships that turn towards each other, the relationships that make deposits every day, because you're still going to have withdrawals every month. You got rent, you got food, grocery store. You're going to have little things here and there in the relationship. But if you're constantly adding deposits, the little things are little things. They don't become big things because you've got 100 grand in the bank. So yeah, $5 here. We had a little misalignment, or oh, we had a disagreement, it doesn't become a blow up. It literally is like, oh, wow, okay, we just see different. It doesn't become a thing when the bank account balance is bigger. So, as like a to do, just make sure you're depositing every day, and have fun with what that looks like. Buy flowers, do things different, like compliment them, words of affirmation. Can you just shower the relationship, make it fun, make it different, make like because the second you just stop adding to it, and I love you isn't adding to the bank account. Like get creative. You got to lean in. You got to like have some fun and play with it.
Oh man. I love it. Yeah, I love you is not adding to the bank account. That's like,
Because it's like of course you love me, you're with me. Like
yeah.
that's another thing. Like people think
Yeah.
that when I'm with my partner, they should know that I love them, and it's like, well, sometimes no. You need to say how much you appreciate them. They don't just know it.
It's just speaking to the account analogy too, because it's like if you're not saying I love you and it is really important to your partner, and it's like getting to that point where you're like, I'm at a deficit here. Like I need to hear it. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah, that's really cool. I like how you that broke that down. Um, moving forward in just like future for your life. What what's your vision for like relationships and like what do you want to see in relationships in the future?
Well, I've got a 500-year business plan. So
You
it's
said
like
what's it?
500-year business plan.
Okay, tell me
So
about that.
this is how is the world impacted because Kevin Crenshaw was alive, like type of shit. And basically the reason that I do all of this is because I see that the only way to save humanity and to have an impact and actually turn this motherfucker around from what's been going on is changing the home life, which happens by the parents being in a loving relationship. Because when that happens, then it's a kid who grows up in that environment, gets all their emotional needs met. They then grow up to be in a relationship with somebody else who was also like that. They have a kid, like that kid's gonna be 20 times, more emotionally intelligent, all things than them, more full of love and all the stuff, right? And they have proper role modeling. Then they get into a relationship. We got 5 generations down, totally different culture. I think that a lot of the pain and hurt and distortion and greed and all of the things that are running rampant in the world right now, even war and all that type of stuff, is because the people in power haven't experienced a healthy relationship in a lot of ways. And I think
Hmm.
that's the antidote to a lot of what's going on. And I think that if we can, if the answer is love, if we can come back to love and actually learn the relationship now, and I think it was Elon Musk who was like, it's better to teach the next generation than to try to teach the current because the current are so stuck in their ways. And
Mm.
I think that's so true in many ways. But if we can at least change the paradigm of our own experience in our relationships, then we give the next generation a chance to have more role models or healthy examples, modeling of relationship and what it's actually supposed to look like. We set them up with the absolute best chance for a new world. And because again, like structurally, society's changing. This stuff is going like I have enough faith that other humans have that. We're seeing it before our eyes right now with things actually shifting structurally in the world, systemically, everything. I want to make an impact in the home life because that's how I see the nervous system of humanity changing. So that's why I do what I do.
I just want to let that land. That was good. Mm.
I just want more healthy role modeling, healthy modeling of a healthy relationship for the next generation, and then for the next generation, and then for the next generation. Like that's how I see it.
Yeah, man, I really resonate with that a lot. Yeah, a lot. Um, just yeah, don't
And then
even.
and then this isn't about relationships, but this is the next like evolution of that has been for me. These coming generations really have a deficit of trust. And and so I'm curious and I'm kind of anticipating what's going to happen there when they're our age. But also, how can I support people in building trust and rebuilding trust and create more of a culture in the world of trust? And again, the best that I know, obviously, I can embody it. Then how do I teach other people to embody it as well? So we just have more lighthouses of trust and a healthy modeling of relationship.
Boom. 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 It makes me, I was going to say, boom, tough acting, acting. I don't
Boom, blam, pow.
know. Oh man. Well, we're reaching in here. I've got a couple of, I like to call them fun little questions.
You got a
but what's up?
shotgun round?
Yeah, shotgun round. Blah blah blah. No, just two. But it'll be like yeah, two of them. But so this question is, what does leading with unconditional love mean to you personally? And what's one thing that has been showing up in your life lately that has been God's test for you? Maybe you've already answered this, but
Yeah. Um, unconditional love. Um, I'll say not taking things personally and forgiveness and grace. And the more that we can do that for ourselves, the easier it is to do it with other people. So the less we're judging ourselves or beating ourselves up or full of shame, the less we're going to do that for others too. So, um, I'm just giving myself a lot of grace. I'm giving myself a lot of forgiveness. And now I can see somebody in their process or see somebody with where they're at things and be patient with them and give them grace and forgive. And that's unconditional love to me. And what was the second question is how's God?
what is the and just like presently, what's
Uh,
God's test been for you lately?
Patience. I really have been reflecting on that this past week. And I'm like, whoa, I'm growing in patience. And I've also have a totally new level of embodied patience.
Mhm.
That it's weird because like I said earlier, it doesn't feel like it's mine. Like my human is impatient as fuck. And I'm like, I don't need to do anything right now. There's nothing to do, which is weird because anxiety is always like, there's something to do. You got to do it right now. You got to make a decision. You got to change. You got to act. And it's like that voice is just not there. So it's really cool. Patience.
A lot of breathing room there.
Yeah.
Love that, man. Um, and I just realized that I had quote unquote forgot to pull the card, but for the deck, but we'll pull it at the end. We'll
Cool.
just do that for our day. The last question is, so I right before I get on the call with each person, I just ask God, I say, God, what is the specific age for Kevin Crenshaw? Like, what's the specific age for him that I can ask this question?
Hmm.
And the age that came up was age 15.
Okay.
Uh, so if you had one piece of advice to give to your 15-year-old self walking the hero's journey, what would that be?
Trust more.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, the encouragement of like, oh, dude, it's all gonna work out and this is gonna be great. You're so strong. Like, you got this, but just trust the process a little bit more. And I'd almost be even hesitant to tell him anything because that might change the timeline. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, I love where I'm at right now. Thank God for that motherfucker. But like, yeah, uh,
Yeah.
he's a strong kid, man. That was right before I got into fitness. So I was like, you have no idea what's coming. But
Mm.
Just gratitude, man. I just have a lot of gratitude for that guy.
Gosh, what a beautiful answer. Yeah, and like that's just a part of the loving journey.
Yeah.
Like yeah, you would now my understanding of God, just like I mean there's so much mystical around it, but it's uh like do I want to know the future? No, I don't.
Yeah.
Because like I just understand that God has got something way more powerful plan than I could ever imagine. And it always works out that way. I like have this expectation and it's completely not what I ever
If we
thought.
knew everything, why would we need God?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you mean God just wants a relationship with us, so he has to throw in a little uncertainty in there and blindfold us a little bit, you know? Like, yeah, then we need that's why that yeah, that's why he does those things, in my opinion, is to posture our heart to lean on him more.
Mm. Well, folks, I'm definitely going to ask about your platforms and everything, but we're going to pull a card.
Let's
Be in
get it.
here. Pull a card from the Metatron deck. This is I it was divinely planted in my life just by like helping somebody move, and then they're like, "Hey, you can have this deck." I'm like, "Oh, great!" And it's apparently Metatron is a um an angel. It's an angel, and so I'm just gonna like pull no. Ooh, duality,
Yeah.
balance needed,
Yeah.
balance needed. Um, Hey, that works for me. I mean,
That is
that resonates for me. But yeah, for everybody else, that was the card. So with going through your day, duality, balance, yin and yang. Kevin, where can people find you? What platforms?
YouTube, just search Kevin Crenshaw, Instagram, the Heart Guy. And my website's being redone right now. So,
Let's go.
well, yeah, just tune in there.
And then soon to see a book coming out.
Yes. Yeah. Instagram would be the best place for that to stay in touch. It's been really fun, man, just writing the book. I'm not on a clincher a timeline with it, but it should be out within the year.
Beautiful. Well, to the rest of the listeners, thank you for dropping in. And until next time, we'll have my next guest. All right. Peace and love to you all.